You're like a brother to me, she said for years. So I introduced her to my new girlfriend. Now, she's the one begging for a crumb of my attention, and I just call her sis. Hey viewers, before we continue, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if you want more stories like this. Thanks. The phone buzzed on my nightstand, shattering the silence. The screen lit up with her name, Chloe. It was 11:37 p.m. on a Tuesday. I'd been awake since 5 a.m., pushing through a project deadline that had nearly broken me. Sleep had finally started to pull me under. I let it go to voicemail. It buzzed again, insistent, relentless, a perfect metaphor for the past 5 years of my life. With a sigh that felt like it came from deep in my bones, I swiped to accept. Chloe, everything okay? Her response was a wet, hiccuping sob. Leo, she choked out. He ghosted me. Mark. After 3 dates, I thought he was different. I closed my eyes, a familiar script unfolding. I was the understudy who had played this role so many times I could do it in my sleep. Hey, slow down, breathe, tell me what happened. The story poured out, cryptic texts, an unread message, a profile that had suddenly disappeared. It was the same story I'd heard with David, with Ryan, with the guy from the yoga studio. Only the names ever changed. I'm such an idiot, she wailed. You're not an idiot. He's a coward. I recited, my voice on autopilot. I forced myself upright, my body protesting. Do you want me to come over? Would you? Her voice was small, fragile. I'll be there in 20 minutes later. I was on her couch, watching her tear through a pint of ice cream while dissecting every text, every glance, every possible meaning. I nodded at the right moments, making the appropriate sympathetic sounds. This was my role. I was a high-end appliance. Leo, the emotional support human. When the tears finally faded and the ice cream was gone, she looked at me, her big blue eyes still glistening. I don't know what I'd do without you. You're my rock. Seriously, like the brother I never had. There it was. The word didn't hit with a sharp sting, but with a dull, sinking weight. Brother. I'd heard it before, dozens of times, but tonight, after the exhaustion, after the endless repetition, it felt different. It wasn't just a word, it was a life sentence. It was her finally sealing me into a box I'd never be allowed to leave. I smiled anyway, a thin, tight line. Anytime, Chloe. As I stepped out into the cool night air, the camera in my mind pulled back. The last 5 years didn't look like a slow-burn romance. They looked like a montage of servitude. Me driving across town at 2 a.m. to fix her flat tire. Me listening for hours as she cried over men who didn't deserve her tears. Me remembering her birthday, her mom's allergy medication, the name of her first pet. Meanwhile, she routinely forgot whether I took my coffee black or with sugar. I was the foundation of her life, the part buried underground, unseen, expected to carry the weight without ever cracking. The group dinner a week later was supposed to be a celebration. I'd landed the Jacobs account, a promotion with a significant pay raise, and a corner office. For the first time, I felt like I had something of my own to share. So after the Q4 presentation, Henderson himself called me into his office. I said, a genuine smile on my face. Our friends Matt and Jen leaned in, listening. Chloe scrolled through her phone. That's huge, man, Matt said, clapping me on the shoulder. You've been grinding for that. I know, it finally feels like, oh my God, you guys. Look at this one, Chloe cut in, shoving her phone across the table. On the screen was a brooding guy in a beanie holding a guitar. His name is Jake. He's a musician. His bio says he's looking for a muse. Can you even? Jen gave a polite, non-committal smile. Interesting, right? Chloe beamed, completely oblivious to the conversation she'd just derailed. It's so refreshing, not like the boring corporate types. She patted my arm affectionately. The condescension hit like a physical blow. The table fell silent. Matt stared at his napkin. Jen suddenly found the menu fascinating. I felt my face grow warm. I wasn't just her friend, I was her benchmark for boring. A stable, predictable point she used to navigate toward more exciting disasters. I said nothing. I just took a long drink of my beer, the taste of my achievement turning to ash in my mouth. 2 days later, I knew I had to try, just once. I couldn't live with the what if. I asked her to meet me at the Grind, the coffee shop where we'd spent 100 Saturday mornings. She arrived buzzing with energy. So Jake and I are talking, she said. He writes his own songs, Leo. He sent me a voice note of one last night. It was intense. I stirred my black coffee, gathering what little courage I had. Chloe, we need to talk about us. Her smile didn't falter. What about us? When you say I'm like a brother, it hurts. I kept my voice low, steady. We spend all our time together. I'm your first call for everything, good or bad. I feel like we're a couple in every way, but the name. Her smile finally faded, replaced by a look of patronizing patience. She sighed, as if explaining something simple to someone who just couldn't grasp it. Leo, what we have is special. It's pure. It's not complicated by all that messy relationship stuff. I love you, but I'm in love with the idea of finding a spark. With Jake, I feel a spark. With you, I feel safe. The words lingered between us. Safe. It was the kindest way anyone had ever called me. Insignificant. So I'm the safety net, I said flatly. You're my foundation, she corrected, her tone suggesting it was a grand compliment. There's a difference. And in that moment, I saw everything with terrifying clarity. She wasn't confused. She wasn't afraid. She knew exactly what she was doing. She would gladly let me spend my life holding her up while she stood on my shoulders, chasing a spark that would never be me. I was a utility, a comfortable piece of furniture, the brother she never had. The confusion and quiet hope that had lived in my chest for years suddenly disappeared, replaced by a cold, clean certainty. I nodded. I stood, pulled a 10 from my wallet, and placed it on the table for my $2 coffee. Okay, I said, my voice eerily calm. I understand now. Goodbye, Chloe. I turned and walked out of the coffee shop. I didn't look back. I heard a faint, confused Leo behind me, but I kept walking. The door swung shut, cutting off the sound of her world. And for the first time in 5 years, I could only hear my own. The first week was the strangest. It wasn't the silence that felt deafening. It was the absence of the constant, low hum of her noise. No sudden dramatic texts. No frantic calls about a forgotten charger or a cryptic message from a man she'd just met. The quiet was unsettling, like the ringing in your ears that only appears when everything else fades. I didn't announce my departure. I didn't write a long, cathartic message. I simply carried out a digital secession. I went through my phone with calm, deliberate precision that felt almost surgical, blocking her number, Instagram, Facebook, even the pointless LinkedIn connection she never used. I became a ghost who cleaned up after himself. Her first attempts to break through came through the usual channels. Chloe, day 1. Are you mad at me? That's so immature. We're adults, Leo. Talk to me. I saw the notification flash on my watch before it vanished. A faint buzz on my wrist. I felt nothing. No anger, no hurt, not even satisfaction. It was like hearing a weather alert for a storm in a country I'd already left behind. Chloe, day 3, okay, fine. Be that way. Jake and I are going to that new synthwave concert tonight. You'd hate it. It's too cool for your classic rock. That one almost made me smile. She was trying to punish me with FOMO, not realizing she was describing my personal version of hell. I was in sweatpants, eating pizza, watching a documentary about deep-sea fishing. For the first time in a long while, I was completely content, with the mental space she once occupied suddenly empty. I found myself with more time and energy than I knew what to do with. I poured it into my promotion, not as an escape, but as focus. I started going to the gym, not to burn off frustration, but to build something for myself. The Strait of Iron was honest. It gave back exactly what I put in, nothing like the endless void of need that had been Chloe. I reconnected with Matt and Jen, not as Chloe's friend, but as myself. We went to a baseball game and I realized I didn't have to keep checking my phone for updates from her. I was present. Chloe, week 2. Leo, this is ridiculous. I need to talk to you. Jake is being weird. He borrowed $200 for new guitar strings. And now he's in the zone and won't answer my texts. Sound familiar? There it was. The first crack. Sound familiar was a calculated move, an attempt to create shared frustration, to pull me back into my old role as co-victim. It was the siren call of the chaos. I had finally escaped. I deleted the notification and went back to my set. When the news finally reached me, it didn't come from her. It came from Jen, over beers about a month later. So, you heard about the musician? She asked cautiously. I've heard nothing, I said, and it was the truth, and I'd like to keep it that way. She told me anyway. Jake had been exactly what you'd expect, a drain, a taker. The $200 had only been the beginning. He never paid for a single meal, drank through all her good wine, and eventually she caught him in the DMs of one of her own followers. The spark had done what sparks always do, burned out fast and left damage behind. "She's a mess," Jen said, watching me carefully. "Really crying about it. She's lost her best friend and her boyfriend at the same time." I took a slow sip of my beer. She lost her best friend the moment she decided he was just her brother. The words came out calm, a simple statement of cause and effect. I felt a distant settling of something, not sympathy for her pain, but a deep pity for the person I used to be, the one who would have been devastated by that news. Now it was just information. It confirmed my hypothesis. The cycle was broken because I had removed myself from the machine. It was in a bookstore, 2 months into my new life, that I met Sarah. I was in the architecture section, looking for a book on mid-century modern design. A new interest that felt entirely my own. "Good choice," a voice said beside me, "but if you're just getting into it, this one gives a better overview of the philosophical roots." I turned. She had intelligent eyes behind stylish glasses and a smile that was curious, not calculating. She held out a different book. "Oh, thanks," I said, taking it. "I'm just branching out." "A good thing to do," she replied. Her name was Sarah. She was an architect. We stood there for 20 minutes, talking about Frank Lloyd Wright and the sin of decorative excess. It was a real conversation, a back and forth. She asked about my work and actually listened to my answers. I asked about her projects and found myself genuinely interested. There was no performance. I wasn't trying to be her rock, her therapist, her brother. I was just a guy talking to a woman in a bookstore. The simplicity of it felt revolutionary. We went for coffee, then dinner. It was easy, it was light. When she talked about a difficult client, I offered perspective, but I didn't try to fix it for her. She did the same for me. It was a partnership, not a service agreement. One evening, as we cooked together at my place, my clean, peaceful place that no longer had a drawer dedicated to her things, my phone buzzed on the counter. A number I didn't recognize, but I knew with cold certainty who it was. Unknown number, 9:14 p.m. Leo. "It's Chloe. I know you have me blocked. I'm using my mom's phone. Please, I'm sorry. I see everything so clearly now. You used me. You were the only real thing in my life. Please call me." I showed the phone to Sarah. "My sister," I said with a wry smile. Sarah read it, one eyebrow lifting. Yikes. The desperation is palpable. She handed the phone back. "You going to call her?" "No," I said, the word clean and absolute. "I blocked that number too. I'm exactly where I want to be." And for the first time, I knew it was undeniably true. The ghost hadn't just found peace. He had built a new life and he had no intention of haunting the old one. The first time she saw us was at the Oak Barrel, a low-lit gastropub Matt had chosen for his birthday. It was 3 months into my new life, and Sarah's presence beside me felt as natural as breathing. We sat with our hands intertwined on the table, laughing at one of Matt's terrible jokes. I was relaxed, present in a way I had never been when I was constantly bracing for Chloe's next crisis. The door opened, spilling a shaft of evening light into the room. And there she was. Chloe stood frozen in the doorway, her eyes scanning the room until they landed on me. Then they flicked to Sarah, to our joined hands, and back to my face. I watched the color drain from her face in a visible wave, leaving her pale and stunned. It was the look of someone watching their entire reality rewrite itself without their consent. She recovered quickly, a brittle, performative smile snapping into place. She walked over, ignoring everyone else at the table. "Leo, oh my God, I haven't seen you in forever." Her voice was an octave too high. Her eyes stayed locked on me, desperately pretending Sarah wasn't real. "Who's this?" I felt Sarah's hand give mine a subtle, reassuring squeeze. I smiled, calm and polite. "Chloe, this is my girlfriend, Sarah." "Sarah, this is Chloe, an old friend." The word girlfriend hit her like a physical blow. She actually flinched. "Girlfriend," she repeated, her forced brightness cracking. That was fast. She tried to reclaim ground, turning to Sarah with a sugary smile. "I'm his best friend. We've known each other for like 5 years. I didn't let Sarah carry that moment. I looked at her, my expression warm and certain, and said, "My best friend is right here." Then I turned back to Chloe, my politeness a flawless, impenetrable shield. "It was good seeing you, Chloe. We were just leaving." I stood, helping Sarah into her jacket. I didn't look at Chloe Agaya. In. I guided Sarah toward the door, my hand resting at the small of her back, a quiet gesture filled with intimacy and certainty. I heard a choked, broken sound behind us, but I didn't turn around. The foundation of her world had just collapsed, and all I felt was the gentle pressure of Sarah's shoulder against mine. After that, the dam broke. The messages started again, coming from an endless rotation of new numbers. Each one marked a different stage of grief. Unknown. Nostalgia. Leo, it's Chloe. Remember that time we got caught in the rain coming back from the coast, singing terrible 80s songs until we found the highway? I miss talking to you. We should catch up, just as friends. I deleted it. I was with Sarah, helping her assemble a new bookshelf. We were building something together. Unknown. Self-pity. He was a mistake. Jake, you were right about everything. I was stupid and blind. I see that now. You were the only one who ever really knew me. I'm so lost. I showed it to Sarah. She shook her head, a mix of pity and quiet disgust. She doesn't miss you, Sarah said, her insight razor sharp. She misses the service you provided. She was right. It was the most honest truth in all of this. Then came the anger. Unknown. Entitlement. Entitlement. How can you just replace me after everything we've been through? 5 years of friendship and you throw it away for some random girl you just met. I need you. You don't get to do this. This one, I screenshotted. I sent it to Sarah with the caption, "My sister is having a moment." She replied, "Lo, tell her siblings shouldn't be so emotionally incestuous. Block that one too." We laughed about it. And that was the final liberating freedom. Chloe's drama was no longer my crisis. It had become a private joke between me and the woman I loved. Her desperation had turned into something irrelevant, a faint, almost amusing annoyance. The final confrontation came, as it often does, in the most ordinary of places, the cereal aisle of a grocery store on a quiet Sunday morning. I was comparing sugar content, deciding between Cheerios and Raisin Bran, when a voice behind me broke the silence. Leo. I turned. She looked hollow. Her hair was tied back in a messy ponytail, no makeup. The vibrant, performative energy she always carried was gone, replaced by raw, trembling exhaustion. She looked like she hadn't slept in weeks. Chloe, I said, my voice neutral, placing the box of Cheerios into my cart. Leo, please. The words spilled out in a rushed, rehearsed flood. Just talk to me for 5 minutes. I made a huge mistake, the biggest mistake of my life. I was scared of what we had because it was so real, so solid. When I felt for you, it wasn't brotherly. I was lying to myself. I was an idiot. I love you. She stopped, chest rising and falling, tears filling her eyes. She had laid everything bare, expecting me to catch it. I looked at her for a long moment. I didn't see the girl I had once longed for. I saw a stranger causing a scene in the cereal aisle. I felt a distant, almost clinical pity for her pain, the same kind you feel for a tragic character in a film. I appreciate you saying that, Chloe, I replied, my tone calm and sincere. A flicker of hope lit up in her tearful eyes. So what does that mean? Can we please go get coffee and talk? Please. I shook my head gently, a quiet final smile on my lips. I'm really happy with Sarah, and I'm glad we can finally be the friends you always said we were. I paused, letting the weight of the reversal settle fully. It's better this way. Take care of yourself, okay? I met her gaze, my own clear and completely free of the history she was clinging to. Sis. The word didn't land as an insult, it landed a fact. It was the ultimate reflection of her own logic, the final brick in the wall of the friend zone. But now, she was the one trapped inside it, pounding against the glass, while I stood free on the outside. I watched her expression completely shatter. Hope, pride, everything that defined her, it all collapsed inward. She said nothing. She just stood there, frozen in aisle 7. I didn't wait. I pushed my cart forward, the wheels gliding smoothly over the polished linoleum. I turned into the coffee aisle, my mind already moving on to the next item on my list. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out, a message from Sarah. Don't forget the coffee, and I love you. I smiled, a real, full smile that warmed me from the inside out. I typed back, already standing in the aisle, I love you too. I walked out of the store into the bright morning sunlight, the automatic doors sliding shut behind me. Somewhere inside, I knew Chloe was still standing there, crying, but her voice was just noise now, fading into the distant background of a life I had already left behind. Completely, permanently, and without regret, that chapter was closed. My story was just beginning. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. What do you think about this story? Share your thoughts in the comments.